retributive justice, typically the death penalty in case of murder. It is legally enforceable in several countries that follow Sharia-based criminal justice systems. Either fully or partially under Sharia law in Yemen, the victim's family also has the option to pardon the accused in return for Diyah or blood money, a financial settlement intended to promote reconciliation. Given that Mehdi's family is unwilling to budge from its stand, the enforcement of Qisas means unless the victim's family chooses to forgive or alters its position, the death sentence legally stands and cannot be overturned. So what's next as far as the case is concerned? Let's start our conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Major Muhammad Ali Shah, and I would seek a response from you about this sorry state of affairs that Nimisha finds herself in. It has been years since the legal case has been going on under the Sharia law in Yemen, under the rule of the Houthis, which have been designated as terrorists by several countries. The fate of Nimisha hangs in balance, and it is the Sharia law against under which the blood money that has been offered from Nimisha's side is not being accepted. Retributive justice or Qisa is what the family is demanding. Now, here the conundrum is about what is wrong, what is right, what is the limit of taking an action, announcing that it is going to be execution by shooting of the individual for the crime that she has committed. Is it going too far? And how do we compare the legalese and the laws that are present in democracies versus what happens in Islamic law, and particularly in Yemen, that is the government that is in place, which is not even recognized by countries across the globe?
Right, Megha. See, if I go to the background of this, Nimisha Priya, who's 37 years old, the nurse from Kerala, and she had moved to Yemen in the year 2008. She was found guilty of the murder in 2017 of a former Yemeni business partner, Talat Abdo Mahdi, with whom she was running this clinic over there. And what we could gather to learn is Talat Abdo Mahdi had confiscated her passport, and in order to retrieve it back, apparently she sedated him, but he died due to an overdose, and then there were murder charges on her and such things. Well, this was a case where it was in Yemen they had sentenced her to death, but I think it's good news for Indians that it's been postponed, and I hope we get more time to negotiate with them, and in fact I hope we get her back to India safely, because the very fact is the safety of every single Indian outside the country. It is, we have to look after their interests. And I can I'll give you a small anecdote on this, Megha, and I'll quickly finish this in a minute. There was a time when I was captured by insurgents in the northeast part of India while serving in the army, and we were to be put to death in cold blood, and we got a few seconds more to live, and those few seconds led to a few minutes, that led to a few hours, and that led to me being here today, sitting here and talking to you. So I think when a postponement like this happens, if we get enough reaction time to actually negotiate and to find a way. So I presume and I hope that we get our citizen back to India safely, Megha.
I'm going to get a response from Gautam Mukherjee as well. Gautam, I was trying to get into the discussion the very legitimacy of the Houthi government, which has not been recognized by any country except for Iran, and therefore the legitimacy of the Sharia law that exists over there. And in those terms, how acceptable is Qisa around the world, in democracies of the world? And then the question, How legitimate is this execution order against Nimisha?
Well, if it was a democracy and a person is convicted of murder, there are only two options. One is either he or she is put to death, or he or she serves a life sentence. Now, in a country like Yemen, which indeed is going through tremendous upheaval under the Houthis and is at war with Israel, there have been civil wars for a long time in Yemen as well. It is nevertheless ruled by Sharia law, and in Sharia law, this is the practice that either the family forgives you because of payment of a sufficient sum according to them, or you are put to death. There is no higher court of appeal, and even if there were, ultimately it is an eye for an eye type of justice. So the legitimacy of the regime has little or nothing to do with this particular case. Let us also understand that the person in the dock is very familiar with Yemen. She's been there, as the Major pointed out, for a long time, since 2008. And so if there is a fallout between her and her partner and a legitimate verdict of murder, because they were in the medical field and you can kill a person with an overdose as well, then it all seems fairly straightforward to me. If she's let off, she's lucky. Her family has come to her rescue. If not, I cannot hold it against the authorities in Yemen.
Javed Ahmed, I'm going to come to you about what were the circumstances in which Nimisha Priya had to take such a brutal step. I mean, a woman who has travelled from Kerala all the way to Yemen to earn a living, and she has partnered with a Yemeni national who, it is being reported, later got married to him. Even while she was married in Kerala, her husband back in Kerala, what would have been the circumstances, those trying circumstances under which Nimisha was forced to kill this man? It is being widely reported that her passport had been confiscated, which means she was not allowed to even travel back and meet her family in Kerala. So these are, trying circumstances, and the family of the murdered Yemeni national are not accepting any of these facts that have been raised, that have been put in public preview. So, do you think this is a one-sided trial without even hearing Nimisha's side of the story?
Ma'am, this is the unique case in India. This is the first kind of conviction abroad the country, or this is the taken as a historical case. First woman, yani Mahila, who got the convicted in murder case. If you see the history of this case, the matter is pending last year 2020. And year 2023, she got convicted in a murder case. On a long process, 2023 on the apex court, it challenges. The Nimisha is got again apex court hold as a conviction case and a capital punishment. If you see the matter behind the Sharia Kanun, there is a kind of Diyah. Diyah is the kind of compensation. The amount has been offered to the family. If the family is agreed to accept, compensation amount around 8.5 crore rupees, The amount has been refused by the family. Then the situation is going to be become more serious. So the entire process is completed by the Indian government counterpart 15 July 2016. The government 25. The government has refused to and has already given a statement that we cannot do more because the Sharia Qanun is having no more option. Meanwhile, there is a Grand Mufti involved in the entire process, and a gentleman approached to the Sharia Mufti in the Yemen. Yemen government got convinced the kind of persuasion on behalf of the Mufti, and since the Indian government have
Yes,
better
but again,
relation.
my question over here is, and Shamshavish, if you could respond to it, answer my question about, again, the question about the legitimacy of the government that is operating Yemen. And if that country and the government, the Houthis that are not being accepted by any country across the globe, with the exception of Iran, do you think there needs to be at this time a campaign that can be led by India with the support of powerful countries, United Kingdom, US, European Union, even the United Nations, international organizations, because there was not an incident too far ago that there were 9 individuals, Yemen nationals, who were executed, shot and killed for their alleged involvement in the killing of a Yemen military official. There was a massive hue and cry that was raised by United Nations and these other countries that are named, calling it an unfair, unjust trial not matching the international law. Why cannot a similar campaign be run in Nimisha's behalf?
Well, look, first we need to understand this, that whether you recognize or not, it's my own country. That's what their own point is. I'm talking on their behalf. So when anyone in the world is not recognizing me, it actually doesn't matter. I am the head of this country, and I am leading this country, so it will be my rules there. So other countries have no role to tell me that how to run my own country. If you remember, even Afghanistan had the similar situation wherein most of the countries were not recognizing the government, but then eventually you had to. So looking at this situation over here, none of the other countries have that role to actually tell them that, look, you are not the right government. It's their land, it's them who have occupied it, or they have the charge of the government, and they have a right to run it the way they want to. Of course,
It is how fair is the law that is executing Nimisha?
fair. I would agree to it, but then how the look, it is said that land laws will always be applicable. So if that country has a Sharia law, they will use that laws. At the max that we can do as a Indian government is that we go and negotiate with them, because if in their law it is mentioned that as the earlier speaker said that the Sharia law is there, so it is for eye for an eye. It is like that. So
Yeah.
if
Again, how many countries across the globe, which are these Islamic nations where Sharia law is implemented with these extremely brutal and uncompromising punishments? I'm also going to, build a contrast, because when Afzal Guru was executed and hanged by death in India, there was so much commotion. There were protests, there were rallies, there were midnight hearings, trial that took place, and it was a much debated, heated topic that consumed the entire nation. And mind you, he was a terrorist. He was a designated terrorist. and as compared to that, there is a woman, she is not Muslim, she is an Indian, or for that matter a foreign national, and she is being executed in a country that is run by Houthis that have been designated as terrorists, and the illegitimacy of that government is something that is accepted, acknowledged by the rest of the world, and the question being on humanitarian grounds, is this not then the responsibility of the world, of international organizations who raise issues, pass resolutions when victims in Gaza are being killed, when the anti-Semitic rallies, protests, violence that takes place on a large scale, whether in America or in Australia and in other parts of the world. The question is, should it not be the responsibility of these organizations and countries which call themselves democracies in intervening in the matter, raising a voice against something that is of dubious character?
It mean that no murder was done, then I think that these organizations would have step forward. But because of a certain reason, I did something, and because of that repercussions, the person died. So so death happened. That murder happened. My intention was not to kill him, but my intention was to just put him at a base wherein I could get my passport. We could understand that. But if we here in India, we start this kind of a campaign that wherein that girl should be saved and all of that would help the Indian government to stand more tall and then talk about it with the Yemeni government, and then they could negotiate. This could only create a pressure on the Indian government. But if you think that this would create a pressure on the Yemeni government, it's not possible. Why? Because again, it's their ego that would come in. It's their own government. It's their own land. You have committed a crime. But
exactly my point. That in democracies, that's not how the rule of the law works. Versus a country that is governed by Sharia law, and again the question about the legitimacy of Sharia. That do you think in society, in countries that are governed by Sharia law, how acceptable it is truly on the basis of humanitarian crisis that has emerged in Yemen, in Islamic nations that practice Sharia law, and I will once again give an example of those 9 Yemeni nationals that were killed, that were executed because of their alleged involvement in the killing of a Yemeni military personnel. Again, voices were being raised by United States, United Kingdom, European Union, United Nations, calling it an unfair trial, calling it a trial that was against the international law, calling it a trial that was against humanity. Again, coming back to you, Major Muhammad Ali Shah, how do we tackle this situation? Are we at this point of time, banging our head against the wall? Do you think our association relationship with Iran might help us in a last-ditch attempt to save Nimisha? And again, the very question about how democracies function versus how countries that are ruled under Islamic law, particularly Sharia, are something that are not widely accepted as fair to the human race.
Megha, is this question to me?
Yes.
Okay. Megha, no, firstly, yes, I agree that every country has a right to govern by their own rules. India has a right, Yemen has a right, every country has a right. But at the same time, this all happen in other countries as well. When there is something like justice, when people, the one who's serving the justice, the judge has to take a call many a times whether this, for example, sentence death is thing very, very big. It's not something like you would punish on prison for a few years. No, it's things death is very big. And sentencing to death of a partner. Now, if I would a different
I have
country,
to interrupt you.
since
There's poor network on your end. We'll try to fix that. But coming back to you, Gautam, the same question about the contrast between democracies and Islamic nations, particularly practicing such dogmatic laws that are brutal to the extent that it is treated as a crime against humanity. How do we, at a time when a number of Islamic nations, including Saudi Arabia, are moving forward towards becoming more moderate and modernizing themselves, and thereby also altering their laws, making their laws more moderate. How does a country like Yemen, how does the Yemeni government stand in the face of it all?
Well, the only difference, as far as I can see, Megha, is the death penalty. Here in democracies, a lot of places do not have the death penalty, or they use it in very rare circumstances. It's mostly life imprisonment. In Islamic countries, especially for capital crime like murder, the death penalty is used. Also for treason, also for drug smuggling. They have various rules. Now this drug smuggling or drug dealing is punishable by death even in the Far East, in places like Thailand and Singapore. So it isn't a matter of democracy versus Islamic law. The laws are pretty much unique to each country. A lot of them are not averse to implementing the death penalty to act as a deterrent for people, especially in crimes, heinous crimes like murder. I don't see in itself that is something that is against, if you like, modern practice, because different countries have different reasons for implementing the death penalty or not. I think the Sharia is fair enough by offering a chance for the family to forgive if they are compensated to their satisfaction.
Okay.
Now, the Indian government and the various Maulvis, as well as the family of the person in the dock, is doing their best to offer over $1 million in this instance, if this is accepted, because this is a nurse, this is not a millionaire. So if the family is offering $1 million, that's a lot of money for them. If after that it is not accepted, then I cannot blame the country for carrying out its own practices.
Right. All right, I only have as much time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast, airing your views. We'll keep a close eye on the fate of Nimisha, and here's hoping that, hope against hope, that she comes back safe and sound and is exempted from that death sentence under the Sharia law in Yemen. Meanwhile, there are developments coming in from Bangladesh. Clashes have erupted in Bangladesh's Gopalganj area. We are learning that Muhammad Yunus's law Enforcers have opened fire on Awami League protesters who were protesting against the demolition of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's grave. We are learning that there were more than 100 Awami League supporters that were killed. The firing is still going on. That is massive news. More than 100 people killed. These protesters that were unarmed being shot by the police forces on the ground. Anand Singh on the telecast with me. Anand, what more can you share with us?
Yeah, Megha, look, we are getting a very disturbing news from Bangladesh, Gopalganj, where more than 100 of the Awami League workers and activists have died in the firing that has started just over there as they were protesting against the demolition of the grave of Mujibur Rahman over there. So clearly, they are alleging that the police and the NCP over there are targeting the Awami League workers in Bangladesh, Gopalganj area, and the firing started over there, and then many of the people, they were brought out from their homes also, and they were killed from point blank range. So clearly in the videos we can also see that how the workers of the Awami League are being dragged out by the military personnel over there, and even they are being pulled out, and while many of the workers of Awami League are trying to take the bodies to hospital so that they can just check whether they are still alive or they have died in the firing process over there. So clearly a very shocking news coming from Bangladesh. And just recently, Megha, I would like to update that how the Minority Advocacy Group has highlighted in its report a week ago that more than 2,442 instances of communal violence had taken place in last 330 days since the time when Bangladesh former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was ousted from the power over there, and then Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus had taken the grip of the nation over there. So clearly, it's a very shocking development that is coming from Bangladesh.
Stay on with me. More information coming in. Section 144 has been imposed in Gopalganj in Bangladesh. As per the Bangladesh police, earlier at around 1:45 p.m., a group of people wielding sticks approached the NCP rally venue and launched an attack. So Section 144 that has been imposed, important that it is to disperse the crowds, but the focus remains, Anand, how could so many civilians be killed? More than 100, that's appalling, that's shocking.
Yeah, Megha, look, these are just the initial reports that are claiming that more than 100 people have died. And as my sources are indicating that there are more people, and the number may go up more than 150 in Bangladesh, Gopalganj area, where the firing started, where the NCP and the police people are targeting the Awami League workers and party leaders. So clearly, now we have seen also last year that how several of the Awami League leaders have left the country and they have taken refuge in several other countries. So clearly, this is a very shocking incident over there, as there have been reports also that even the military has been called, even as the Section 144 has been imposed over there. So this is an alarming situation in Bangladesh, Gopalganj. Back to you, Megha.
All right. Thank you, Anand, for giving us that update. Truly shocking news coming in from Bangladesh. So many people killed for protesting on the streets. They were all volunteers from the Awami League that has since been banned by the interim chief Muhammad Yunus, who is at the helm of affairs since the removal, ousting of Sheikh Hasina as the Prime Minister of the country. All right, joining me on the telecast is Haji Syed Salman Chishti. Thank you very much. And my question to you, of course, about the sad story. Unfortunate that Nimisha Priya has still not gotten a reprieve. Her life hangs in balance. What are your views, and particularly about whether justice is being given to Nimisha? If you can hear me, sir.
Greeting of peace, adab, salam, and lots of blessings and du'as from Ajmer Sharif. We have been following the news which is through the media, which has come to us as well. And of course, Indian diplomatic initiatives have been in place for a while to secure the release of the Indian national in Yemen. And I think it is also to look at the way of compassion. And I think when we talk about the Islamic laws that are placed in Yemen, and of course it gives a fair chance, as well as it has the component of mercy, compassion, as the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is rahmatan lil alameen, mercy upon mankind. So if you look at that through prism, forgiveness is an essential aspect of Islamic values. We hope and pray that the same should be applied to this case, and of course with all the diplomatic initiatives taken through by the Indian government and the respective humanitarian agencies, we hope that it can secure the release of the Indian national and bring her back home.
Sayyid Chishti, what are your thoughts on the Sharia law, the Islamic law, the Qisas? Do you think it is too brutal, too cruel, and perhaps does not serve the rightful justice that somebody like Nimisha at this point of time is facing?
When we talk about the Qisas and also Diyah, which also offer an option and also the right to the family who has been involved to take the compensation, which can be provided from the legal point of view. It all depends on how the authorities in Yemen, they look at the perspectives and how they implement these initiatives. When we look at the humanitarian perspective, I think the family should pay heed to the value of forgiveness, mercy, and compassion, which is an essential aspect of Islamic spiritual principles. And also, I've read through the news that the appeal has been made with Sheikh Abu Bakr Musliar, who's a very well-respected ulema from Kerala. And I think the collective effort, both from the spiritual and religious perspective, as well as the diplomatic perspective, there should be a breakthrough into this case, and hopefully Nimisha could be back to her home.
I also have to ask you this question about why there is no outrage from a number of Muslim leaders here in India, politicians, Asaduddin Owaisi, the likes of him, who have been very vocal on a number of issues related to Islam, but somehow have lost their voice in the case of Nimisha Priya.
Well, I mean, this is the best question to ask to those people who have been observing it, and maybe they are giving there some reactions or not. So it's best to ask them. It is an international diplomatic issue. So there have been instances where people from all walks of life have spoken up. There are communities who come together in saving human life. So I think if the same can be applied, a collective consciousness and voice of forgiveness, mercy can be, collectively sent to the family who have suffered the loss of one of their family members.
Yeah,
that can really, maybe they can pay heed to that, as they are also, I believe, practicing Muslims, and they have paid heed to such teachings of Islam. And if in a soft diplomatic outreach that can be conveyed directly to the family, that will also be a way of reconciliation and connecting the hearts.
Do you think the Sharia law is legitimate in any way because of the brutality and cruelty that we are witnessing in the trial of the defendant Nimisha Priya in this case? There have been previous instances where the Houthi government that is not recognized by countries across the globe, barring Iran, that had executed 9 individuals, in fact, who were allegedly involved in the murder of a Houthi military personnel. And as compared to the democracies that function across the globe, including in India, it is only the rarest of the rare cases that merits a death sentence.
Yes, as we talked about when you asked the question about the Sharia law, it also gives an equal opportunity, which I mentioned earlier, that Qisas and Diyah, which means it rests upon the family which have been affected by these issues, and they have the equal right as well to accept the norm of Diyah, which is offering of the blood money, which is a norm in most of the Middle Eastern countries, whether there are some incidents like that. So I believe that 95% of such cases, blood money, Diyah has been accepted by the family, so that the survivors can continue with their life without the issues that comes after losing one's family members or the only earning member. So it gives a balanced approach towards those who have exceeded or those who have committed a crime, and the family that have suffered because of the crime. So at the end of the day, we have to look at crime through the prism of forgiveness, mercy and compassion, and if that can be conveyed to the family, I think a breakthrough can happen.
A final question before I let you go, about how fair do you think it is to leave such an important, crucial, sensitive decision to the family of the victim, which is obviously aggrieved, which is going to be biased and partial against the defendant? And don't you think an independent, fair, transparent rule of law should be applicable in deciding the fate of the defendant? Again, questions are being raised about whether the circumstances, the trying times that Nimisha faced, that forced her to take such a brutal step, a person who does not have any criminal history in the past was forced to take such a step. Have all these aspects actually been fairly and independently been taken into account before the family even decided to reject the blood money?
We hope that the Yemen authorities and the implementing agencies there, the law enforcement agencies, they have gone through the process. It's been a while that Nimisha has been into the custody. So I'm sure all those details which we are not aware, the procedures of going through the crime scene and all the details the authorities must have gone through, and to that point that they have come to the reconciliation or the decision with the family point of view. So I'm sure all those, I hope that those procedures are followed, and I'm very hopeful that Indian government has also, and the authorities, the diplomatic initiatives have been part of those process by consulting and giving a fair trial. So I think all the procedures must have been implemented, I hope, and I'm sure the details are with the Indian diplomatic initiatives and efforts as well, officials who have been involved in negotiating. And as I said earlier, that at this point of time, we can pray and appeal for the family to reconcile and with the values of forgiveness, mercy and compassion that is integral to Islamic principle of serving mankind.
All right. Thank you very much for joining me and airing your views on this subject. And on that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching Newsx.
Under the skilled leadership of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, Uttar Pradesh is emerging as a new force in the defense sector.
30,000 करोड़ रुपए के निवेश उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर डिफेंस सेक्टर के ही होने जा रहे हैं.
A defense corridor is being developed in 6 major districts. By fostering defense manufacturing, this is promoting India's self-reliance. The defence corridor has attracted investment commitments worth rupees 30,000 crore. 96% of the land allocated has been acquired. Out of 2,097 hectares, 2,015 have been secured. In Lucknow, the BrahMos Aerospace Integration and Testing Facility has been constructed. Built at a cost of rupees 300 crore, this unit stands on 80 hectares and will produce the world's state-of-the-art supersonic cruise missiles. Apart from strengthening the defence sector, the UP Defence Corridor will also provide employment to young people.
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज़ का मीडिया स्कूल। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका देता है देश के दिग्गज एंकर्स के साथ काम करने का। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल में आप बेहद नजदीकी से देख पाएंगे किस तरह से ITV नेटवर्क के दिग्गज पत्रकारों की टीम दिन रात खबरों पर काम करती है। इस कोर्स के दौरान आप सीखेंगे एंकरिंग की एक एक बारीकी उन एंकर्स के साथ जो देश को रखते हैं हर खबर से बाखबर। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का ये कोर्स आपके एंकरिंग स्किल्स को करेगा इतना सशक्त मजबूत, जिससे आप बनेंगे पत्रकारिता की दुनिया का वो चमकता चेहरा जो दुनिया देखेगी और पसंद करेगी।
Uttar Pradesh government's Project Alankar has emerged as a standout example of effective educational reform. Launched by Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath in October 2021, the scheme has transformed infrastructure and learning environment in state-run schools.
यूपी शिक्षा का एक नया मॉडल देने जा रहा है स्कूली शिक्षा का, प्री प्राइमरी से लेकर के और सीनियर सेकेंडरी लेवल तक।
The project seeks to achieve 100% compliance with 35 infrastructure and facility benchmarks in 2,441 government schools. Under this initiative, schools are being equipped with smart classrooms, science laboratories, libraries, computer labs, and hygienic toilets. This has created a conducive and inclusive environment for learning. Enrollment in secondary schools has increased by 23% and attendance in primary schools has risen 11.5%. The turnaround witnessed in government-run schools in UP has made this ambitious scheme a role model for other states across India.
टेस्टो सोया चांप, टेस्ट मीन्स टेस्टो। अब स्वाद और सेहत एक साथ। नॉन फ्रोजन, नो प्रिजर्वेटिव्स, शुद्ध सोया से बना, प्रोटीन से भरपूर, सेहत का नया स्वाद। सोया चांप, द अल्टीमेट सोर्स ऑफ प्रोटीन, अ पैकेट ऑफ हैप्पीनेस। टेस्टो सोया चांप।
Welcome back. You're watching Newsx. My name is Vineet. The External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Shankar, and his counterpart from the SCO member nations in fact, met Chinese President Xi Jinping today. The External Affairs Minister landed in China on Monday, and he is on a two-day visit to attend a conclave of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Remember, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Ajit Doval were in China, and this is for the first time in 5 years that the External Affairs Minister has visited China. Since Galwan Valley clashes in 2020 June, it is his visit to China since bilateral ties witnessed a severe downturn following the clash. Mr. Jaishankar's visit to China is looked upon as a very crucial visit. During the visit, he apprised the Chinese president of the recent developments in bilateral ties between both the nations. He further engaged with the Chinese leadership. He also met with Chinese vice presidents, reiterating that continued normalization of India-China ties hold potential for mutually beneficial outcomes. Highlighting a positive step in the bilateral relationship, Mr. Jaishankar welcomed the resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, which has been suspended since 2020. India's participation in SCO meetings has intensified recently, including Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval's visit to China in June for security-focused SCO discussions. We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the program is Ambassador Suresh Kumar Goel, former diplomat, Major General G.G. Dwivedi, Global Strategic Defence Expert, Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, Senior Journalist, with us on the program as well, and last but by no means the least, Dr. Sharath Kohli, Senior Economist, is with us on the program as well. Ambassador Goel, I'll begin with you, sir. Well, a whole lot of diplomacy has happened in the past as well between these two countries. Can we say, like we say in English colloquially, that a lot of water has passed under the bridge and now it's time to re-look at this relationship? Do you think, from the pathology that China comes from, is that even possible?
Vineet, that's a very good question, and I'm going to say it basically because having worked in China, having served in China, and speaking a bit of Chinese, which is an essential criterion to be able to serve in China, at least for us, it used to be for us diplomats. Let me put it this way. China has long memories, and China does not work on short-term objectives. And therefore, to say that a lot of water has flown down whichever river that flows between India and China, and I know that water has a lot of problem between India and China, I don't think that is going to be such a short-term kind of a thing or forgotten so easily. Let me put it this way. The issues between India and China are related not just to really the border or defense or trade or anything specific of that kind. I think it's a very existential kind of a problem. India and China, two major civilizations existing in Asia and now sharing borders. In the past, at least India and China didn't share borders. Now with Tibet going to China, we share borders. So sharing borders, neighboring countries, largest and oldest civilizations with equally valid claims for being major powers in Asia. I don't think it can be easy for them to really adjust to each other in a manner of the water flowing down Ganges or the Yellow River. No. I think the problems are going to be basically for China to recognize that even if India is not an equal, either economically, politically, or in terms of the total production, GDP, gross production, that India cannot be dismissed in a short manner. We have to recognize each other, and we have to recognize that both can work with each other, but if they don't work with each other, it's a problem for both India and China. I am speaking in generalities, but I think it is important to understand that the problem is not just one or the other. The problem is two major powers coexisting with sharing borders. I can speak in more details later on, but I don't think it's going to be easy.